and we, they want to kill me, they want dead. I ain't going nowhere. It's only the Almighty and the ancestors can call me when they're ready for me. Not them, I dep on them. I dep on them. So I just wanted to say that to all of you who might have seen that that post by Sister Odessa. Will you have no worry, all is well. Good evening and welcome to tonight's Politics 101. We are slowly getting back to full speed. One of our regular guests, Apostle Nigel London. First time after months, we had paused our program during the campaign. And then since the election, we've been trying to bring things back to where we were. So the guests are coming back slowly but surely. And we're going to continue to have the discussion. Dr. Adams was here last Friday. Apostle is here tonight. Of course, Apostle, like myself, we were candidates in the election, and so there were some learning, some lessons to be learned from there. But we are accustomed to operating at different levels. We have to, and we will always have to operate at different levels. Today we are electoral contestants, but even when we're doing that, we still have to keep the culture going. We still have, we are accustomed. Friend of mine, Brother Yati, came to see me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, man, you're in a tough spot because you have to be a political activist and a cultural activist. You got to do the politics and do the culture at the same time. And, we reminisce. We went far back to Kwayana, who, had to be the cultural icon and at the same time do the politics and so on. And this is what happens sometimes. We take things for granted. I think I didn't wake up one morning and say that I will be the chief public voice of what I call the Black cultural resistance, because I think that there is a design afoot to really tear Black people apart culturally. And, almost by default, I have probably become the most visible face or voice, but I'm not alone. Apostle London and, the Eric Phillips, the Takumo Gunses, Vincent Alexander, we are all out there, but, they pick on me the most. So, I was saying to a PPP person, you all should be glad. You all should be glad that I am trying to uplift Black people, and because if Black people not how the country going to uplift unless you think we can develop this country while Black people are not uplifted, but that's the kind of country we live in. It's a crazy country. Some people play crazy. Some people are crazy. I mean, Ravi Dev and all of them, you heard them recently, even Kwame Mackay, who I didn't bother with, because why would I worry with Kwame? Dr. Hinds is stuck in the past. His ideologies are stuck in the past. And if you ask them, why is Dr. Hinds' ideology? They can answer, spelling ideology is a problem, much more to define ideology. But Dr. Hinds' ideology is stuck, poor Kwame, he hear it and he parrot it, but even parrot get a little bit more thing. Well, anyhow, the thing is, what they're claiming about the 70s, the 70s of Black power. So when they say Dr. Hinds is stuck in the ideology of the 70s, they're saying Dr. Hinds is stuck in Black power. What Black power means? Empowerment of Black people. So they're saying the empowerment of Black people is a 1970s ideology. And what they want me to do is promote capitalism. They said capitalism is the only ideology in the world. And I said to one of the PPP persons, I'm not ready to encourage black people into black capitalism. Because I know that capitalism enslaved black people. Eric Williams said capitalism and slavery. And so in 2025, when you are telling me that black people must embrace capitalism, I'm not too comfortable with that. I don't know that black people know how to do capitalism. Black people know how to do entrepreneurship. Black people know how to do business. And you don't have to be a capitalist to be an entrepreneur. There is a Chinese socialist. If a Chinese landed today, next week you open a restaurant and you say he's socialist, you know how to do capitalism. Entrepreneurship is not capitalism. Business is not capitalism. But they want me to get into black capitalism because you see, capitalism is about the individual and the market, not the collective, not the cooperative. And they want me to commit black people to that because in capitalism, you have capital and labor. And capital exploits labor. And who win, who lose. And what they want is to continue to exploit black people's labor under the guise of capitalism. I told this PPP person, I said, all you give them little boys a contract for $3,000. $3 million, sorry. You take the $3 million, they take the $3 million, they build a little concrete road. They probably pay their workers $1.5 million. And they left with $1.5 million. And what they do, most of them, the first thing they buy a car. And you all are fooling them and telling them it's development. You all are sitting there, watch black people to use Walter Rodney Storm, watch young black people underdevelop themselves. Because if other left is 1 million, 1.5 million, there's not much else they can do with that. They pay some bills. Those who want the bills, they buy a car. No, nothing is wrong in buying a car. If your car is to become a taxi man or to start a fleet of taxi, then your car move from a car to capital. And I'm telling to the PPP people, you all may be teaching your constituents that, but you're not teaching these little black boys. And what I want is not just for every little black boy to have a car. I want every little black boy and little girl to have a means to accumulate wealth along the same level as other communities. If you all tell me that is the ideology of the 1970s, then you all are dunces. I am not interested in black capitalism because capitalism was the basis of slavery. I'm interested in entrepreneurship. Capitalism is about the market, you know. And when you all fool me, young people telling them, if you get a $2 million, become capitalist, you all are exploiting them. An old economist from Barbados, I'm trying to remember his name, he said, Doc, there's nothing like a free market capitalism. He said, if it's free, it's not a market, because the market got rules to get you in and rules to keep you out. He said, if it's free, it's not a market. And if it's a market, it's not free because the market get rules. And we fool young people that if they get a couple $1 million, they become capitalists. So I'm not interested. And because I am not interested in their nonsense, they say I'm stuck in the 70s. And you ask them, what is my ideology? They don't know. And I want to say one more thing before bringing the apostle. At the turn of the 20th century, there was a big debate between W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington argued, he said, black people are second-class citizens in America. He said, accept your second-class citizenship and go and learn trade. He set up Tuskegee Institute and so on. Du Bois said, I will you in them learning trade to uplift themselves. Where you and I part is that they must become first-class citizens. And when you look at the PPP and others, they're saying to black people, we want you to make money, but to make it as second-class citizens. When others are making 300 million, you are making 3 million. And when you reproduce 3 million, you're reproducing, comparatively speaking, your underdevelopment as a second-class citizen. You're economically second-class citizens. And Du Bois and Booker T had that argument. Du Bois said, oh no, fight for your civil rights and become a first-class citizen. So you're accumulating wealth comparative to other people as a free citizen. So that is the vex with me. And saying I'm teaching black people bad. I want black people to get rich. Rich. I want to get them to get rich as free citizens, as equal citizens, and get rich at the same rate as other people. And the first thing you do, if you want to get people to get rich, is to get rid of poverty. Poverty is the barrier to wealth. You're accumulating poverty. That's what we're doing in Guyana. At 46% poverty rate, we are accumulating poverty, not wealth. And so the first thing is to get rid of poverty so black people can have equality. Equality of condition. And if you have equality of condition and you and me go to bid for this business, bid for this contract, because you got capital and I got capital, even. But if you get capital and I don't have capital, we don't have equality of condition. And if there's no equality of condition, there cannot be equality of opportunity. So when you hear people telling you, oh, black people get opportunity to remain poor, because you can get $3 million or $4 million, they ain't gonna get you. That will not get you rich. If you're giving $4 million to a person who's impoverished, you give them the $4 million, but you have to give them the wherewithal to turn that $4 million into wealth. But if they are going to pay debt and then go and drink and they take it and buy a car for drive around the place, you are encouraging reproduction of poverty. Attack enough. But you all get the drift. Apostle London, good evening. You're responsible for nothing that I said there just now. Maybe you are a black capitalist. Maybe you see it differently, but talk to me.
My brother, greetings to you, to those who are tuned in here, who have joined. I am always grateful for the opportunity to sit here with you. What I consider to be a mature environment where we could have campaigned on different platforms, but still we maintain value, honor, integrity, and more than anything else, respect for each other's right to be human being and the right to have similar values as relates to the empowerment of our people. What you said, I was here in the background, in the backstage, smiling so widely, because it's it's been a while since I've heard an elder of the African descendants speak to what actually is their true plight in this country. And that is where they're being told that should they receive anything, that some of them have said it to me, that for the first time in their lives, they've held $1 million, young African men. And I said, is that an accomplishment? And like you, sometimes I ask questions for people to ponder the disaster that awaits should they respond. So they said, well, yes, I never held $1 million before. I said, look at Barrett, look at Irfan, look at Susan Rodriguez. You consider those in the PPP and in a lot of them. And then look at yourself and tell me if this $1 million matter when you stand beside another person. Look at those of the average support of the PPP who's of another ethnic grouping and in the circle of friends. Does your $1 million make you feel as though you're qualified to be numbered among them? And they know the answer is no. So how are you, as a young African man, a descendant who would have suffered in the loins of your foreparents, how can you boast of being better off if you're worse than? That's the question they have to answer to me. And none of them would take the risk in the PPP to answer. And I'm happy that you would stand in the House of the House of Assembly, and you would certainly, I know, to the pain of many across the floor, have them try to respond to you when you say these things to them. You cannot be better off if you're worse than. We must be similar to, then we're better off. So I'm thankful for that which you've alluded to, because capitalism is a very dangerous ideology if you're on the opposite side of it. It's only good for those who benefit from it.
That's right.
And the PPP, the only thing they're honest about is that they're capitalist. Honestly speaking, whenever because of all this, and they don't say it, they do it. They show you that the Chamber of Commerce and the private sector, they run this country. That's what they tell you in essence. So you don't want to upset them. You don't want to bother them. And as long as you treat the businesses right, capital right, then the chips will fall wherever they may. Whoever suffers have to suffer, but the capitalists will always benefit. So when you see people build, the PP say they build a highway, for example, I tell you African descendants all the time, it is not for you. You have usage of it. The Damara Harbor Bridge, I'll never call it Barjagir Bridge. Never. And I'm happy to consider it because I talk the way I want to talk. On other broadcasts, I have to be so polished, lest the host becomes offended. Listen to me. I will never call that bridge Barjagir Bridge. Never. Now, the only condition on which I call it Barjagir Bridge is because it's associated with Chinese. And China Railway Corporation Caribbean, we know how connected they are. But that bridge was not built for any African descendant to be better off. It was built because the businessmen have a problem with having to wait when the bridge opens. It really delays them. So most of the infrastructural work that are done in this country, all of it, it is done for capitalists to have an easy time in doing their business. Hence, capital is gained, which is money, and they're able to function in a more superior level. That is the absolute truth about development in this country, what they call development. If they have 2 lanes and it's a problem, they'll build 6 because the businessmen say, hey, you surrender my business. I have to move goods and services. What you doing? And what do they do, Dr. Hinds? They'll give one of those same friends of theirs the contract. Because let's talk about that for a second. No one in the PPP, no one in any part of the political circle in this country can name 2 African descendants who young men that got a contract to build 1 major highway in this country. Name 1 African descendant. 1, not 2, who had a contract. Since you want to develop African people, name 1 who has a contract to build 1 major highway in Guyana. And I'll never talk again about anything political. I'll preach and be quiet all the time.
The Apostle London, Nigel London here tonight, and we're starting off on this issue because, like I said, I cannot stand by and allow you to tell me, David, you have to eschew the politics of victimhood. If my people are victims, then they're victims. And I cannot watch them be victims and tell them they're not victims. They expect people like Apostle London and myself. They expect us. They may not realize they're victims, or they may know they're victims, and they may decide, look, I just gonna roll with the punches. But they looked us. I was standing outside there, Apostle, this afternoon. Young England girl, she came up to buy things from one of the young people that's selling in front of me here. And I was standing by one of the stands. She looked me up and down, and she said, you have all the mannerisms of Dr. David Hinds. She looked me again. She said, nobody never tell you that? I said, no. So she turned to the girl and said, you all don't think he get talk the way he talk and he move in the hand like Dr. Hinds. The two ladies, the vendor and another customer, couldn't hold in no more. They said, but you are talking to Dr. Hinds. She said, oh my God, how you hanging out ordinary? The only reason I didn't say it's Dr. Hinds is that I expect you to hanging out as so ordinary. And we laughed. But that was profound. Yeah?
It was.
that was profound. In the sense that people like myself are not expected. With all the talk we talk about hanging with the masses and so on, that girl know damn well that for a lot of us, hanging with the masses is chat. We don't hang with the masses. So in our head, Dr. Hinds is not, she said, she used the word ordinary. She didn't expect me to be at an ordinary place like that. No, I am just saying, that is profound. And it's not that the girl said anything bad. She was very honest. That is the way the society operates. And she knows that 9 out of them in the PPP and PNC and WPA and all the others that call ourselves political party, she knows 9 out of 10 of us and got time with the masses. Look how they rough up Aubrey Norton because he go and drinking or eating at a regular place. This society hasn't sorted out certain things, and they want us not to talk about it. The young lady went on. She said, they don't win. We can't take that away from them. This is an Indian system. We don't win, but at least we get the opposition. And people like you, who they don't want in the opposition, I support being in the opposition. And she buys your thing, and she goes.
I like that.
Reflect on that for me, Pastor.
It's indeed profound because it's our experiences are so similar in that even those of Armenian descent and Indian descent and so on, they're saying to us that they need this check and balance system in place. They need voices who would be opposed to that which is not right. What I find interesting is that they recognize that what the PPP would have done in many instances is wrong.
Yes.
Hence, they say there has to be somebody to speak against their behavior. And let me in that manner reflect on the opening of Parliament, because I was sitting right beside you, right behind you, and so on. And when I looked across and I saw the conduct of those in the PPP camp, my heart became heavy, Dr. Hinds, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell the viewers why. I don't think that many Guyanese connect very quickly with the understanding that you are legislators, you make laws. You're not ordinary people. When you become a parliamentarian in this country, it's not just a parliamentarian in the concept of you go to House Assembly. You are vested with the constitutional power to help to make a law or to repeal them or remove them, to make amendments to them. So when I look across and I saw the behavior of these people who are given responsibilities to essentially control to some extent what I can and cannot do because they have the power to make laws and vote and think a bill becomes an act and it becomes extended into law. It is troubling to know that on the first day, there's no debate, there's no bill being presented, there's nothing, no argument had. And they started to show Guyanese that they are just what I call a clan of misfits who have no manners. And so people, even the young Indian people and others are saying, listen, this is not what it's about. We've had enough of this. There's serious matters that we face. For example, the Venezuela issue. Now with the US becoming involved, the potential of Ghana being attacked, and more so, the reality that we've now been attacked by Venezuela. And on the first day, instead of somebody saying, Mr. Speaker, I know that this is not a time, but can we have a moment of silence for the young lady who was become Ghana's first victim of a terrorist from another soil? No such thing. So those who are on the outside are saying to us, Dr. Hinds, that they need to have those who, like you, are prepared to stand, and they know you would, and hold the PPP accountable. It is called registering your position. And that's what you need. And I'm so proud of you. I must say that publicly. And I say it without reservation, because I know what you're going to do.
Yes, thank you very much for those 2 points. One, that there are people who would have voted for the PPP, but know very well that the PPP don't represent their view of the world. And in almost a schizophrenic way, you know, the people who they voted against, they expect those people to represent them. And if we don't understand that, we don't understand the first thing about this country, Guyana. And like you, I sat there and I said, my God, I know this is how these people just behave. That's why I don't pay too much attention to them. But I'm sitting there now. And these are not legislators. Parliament has 3 functions: legislate, to make law, and as part of that law is to control the country purse strings.
That's correct.
Part of making law is to control the purse strings. The next function of Parliament is to keep an eye on the other 2 branches, oversight, to see and make sure they're doing right. Those people who are carrying on there are not interested in the function of oversight. And thirdly, Parliament is a representative body. You are there to represent your constituents, and secondly, to represent your country. When you make laws that have to do with your constituents, you're representing them. When you have to make laws or debate and introduce motions about national things that you talk about, you're representing your nation. So representation is about your constituency and your nation. Oversight is about keeping an eye on the 2 branches of government to make sure that they are doing right by this country. And thirdly, to make laws that are the rules, and to control the country purse string. That is an enormous responsibility. And to see people sit there going on and laughing and I feel sad. I feel sad for my country. But I'm glad that I am there. I hope because I'm not heckling anybody. When I come here and I want to echo, I go echo here on this program.
Right.
And I am loath to do that. But I do not see the National Assembly as a place to carry on like a bad boy, bad John. And that is what we have seen there. Apostle, you know, we just had an election. And I want to go back to come forward, as the Rastaman would say, or go back to come again. Rastaman said, come again, don't come forward, don't come back,
right.
come again. Let us go back, because in some regards, the September 1st election, has thrown up something new, some new outcomes.
Yeah.
But in some regard, those outcomes are really not new. They are old outcomes. Now, if you start there, I think you are better poised to really take a dispassionate analysis of what has happened. And so that is the premise I'm laying down.
Okay.
As I ask you to reflect on this September 1st election.
As you rightly said, September 1st elections has produced a very interesting outcome, and that is that there's an announcement that was made by the electorate that they need something different. The challenge, though, is that the request of the electorate would have been preempted by one of the most corrupt, dishonest, and shameless group of people who, I've said this for so long, Dr. Hinds, that the tentacles of the PPP are far-reaching. And September 1st would have brought to the fore how far-reaching the tentacles of the PPP happen to be. For the first time, I saw, and I'm happy that I was a part of this process, where I was able to have inside information and internal experiences. And I saw that the Guyana Elections Commission, I said it, and I'll say it here again, was a part of the PPP's coalition. I cannot say anything else because it's the truth. So in reflecting on that, I realized that though the people wanted something different, they were at a disadvantage because the system was not intended for Guyanese to experience a fair election. When so many observers would have met with me and would have said on numerous occasions that they cannot comprehend how Guyanese, in one instance, an analyst said, "You mean tell me the people don't know how to vote?" I said, "Why do you say that?" She said, "How do you have so many spoiled or rejected ballots? What has happened to you as a people?" And they couldn't connect because of the limited time they spent in this country, some of them, with what was really happening. So these elections, as I reflect, go back to when people wanted to have a change, and that's how I see it, from master's rule and from this dominance of this system. I said, "You want something different." And so they voted. And well, in the first instance, it was 133 days, I think it would have been, when the British said, "Chedi, no, we don't want you. Oh, let's do this again." So we've had this cycle of interference in our country. This time I saw that it was very unusual. I knew many Guyanese, including those of Indian descent, and those who supported PPP as well, say, "Listen, we don't want these people." Some of them said Adriana Young was the last straw. Then they said, "Man, this is the epitome of disaster we face with these people." And then, when they were at their worst, they perform the best. That is a question that I would love to have answered in every circle of society, including the parliament. How could a party, they knew they did badly. They knew they treated people miserably, to the point where they began to almost plead with Guyanese, "Oh, give us a chance. Oh, we know we're bad. Help us out. We can do better next time. We fight against corruption," and all that they were saying, because they knew that the evidence was insurmountable. And then, with that being known, they performed at their best. Impossible.
Impossible. Apostle London here tonight. Good evening to all of you. I notice a lot of you have shared the link. Please do. Welcome to Politics 101. And for those of you who saw that post by Sister Odessa Primus, that that I am sick and ready to die and at surgery and so on, it's not true. It's not.
No.
It's not true. It is not true. But there is mischief. There is mischief afoot. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to all of you. You're out in your numbers tonight. I'm glad to see that. Pastor Apostle London mentioned just now about the PPP. I was talking to a PPP partner and said, "But it's 9,000 votes extra you all get compared to the last time." 9,000 votes is one seat.
That's
It's
right.
one seat. And you all are asking the question, well, if you all rigged the election, why you all only rigged 9,000 votes? No, it is not. That is in spite of your rigging. Despite your rigging. Despite your rigging. People did what they had to do and voted. And you after all the rigging, only 9,000 votes. So the fact that you only increased by 9,000 votes didn't mean you were rigged. You rigged because you needed not 9,000 votes. You needed 90,000 votes or 60,000 votes or 30,000 votes. And when you rig 30,000, you are behind by 21,000. And so in the end, you only get forward with 9,000. You rigged because you needed six. You remember Orphan and Jack Joe went to Region 6 and they called the number they want?
Correct.
They called it. They know how much they have to rig. So if you rig 40,000 and you only get 9,000 extra from the last time, it means you rigged 31,000. And that is not visible because you know how much you are behind. And Nami says so. You went to Region 6. Apostle, you remember?
And announced it publicly. Yeah.
So, not because you only lead, you only get 9,000 extra, it means that you want it. And then you're talking about the seats. You're talking about the seats. You get 3 seats from 1 seat numbers. You can tell me if that is not unfair, and that is not how can that be fair? Where you got an extra 3 seats, but from 9,000 votes. Tell me, tell us. And that is why I want to talk. We have to continue to educate our people. They said they want 55,000 from Bobby's. Thank you very much, Brother Chisholm. And that is why they don't, Brother Pastor Apostle London, they don't want us to talk. They say, come off this thing of victimhood. So you want to make us victims, but we mustn't talk about victim of our victimhood. It's like some of them who now saying slavery was good to Africans. And so we must not talk about victim. David come off of this victimhood to tell them, let them get a $3 million contract. That's what they want me and you to do.
No.
And we are not going to do it. Apostle London here tonight. Apostle, you're a man who pay attention to what's happening. And I still am trying to figure out this bombing story at this gas station. I can't figure it out. And the government is not figuring it out for me and for people. How can a man who is supposedly linked to an advanced drug cartel, criminal gang, maybe the Venezuelan government, how can that man come into a country, walk in a gas station, obviously conscious that you got camera all around, and just walk and put on a bomb? That is not professional. That is not common sense. And if it's not a professional operation, it's not a common sense operation, then it seems to me as a big man tell me, he said, David, is a plant operation. Talk to me, Apostle.
Dr. Hinds, that and I spoke to it earlier about the fact that it's the first, because Son Chapman was not, as far as I'm aware, was an act of terrorism by Guyanese. But in this case, our arch rival, they're saying someone from within that territory And they repeated what they claimed the man said, that he left Venezuela and he got to Georgetown by the afternoon, planted a bomb. He traveled all the way with this bomb, planted this explosive device. And what troubles me the most, Dr. Hinds, is that instead of going back to where he came from, he decided apparently he's going to relax in Region 3 for a while. Now I don't understand, it makes sense. If he came and he relaxed in Region 3 and just hung out at whatever house it was, before he did anything, that could make sense to me. But why would he, after realizing what has happened, with the time and everything else, decide he's not going to rush to head back over the border where he's going to be safe? But he's going to he just relax right there and say, okay, police, they'll come for me. What is even more concerning to me is the fact that Irfan Ali, for many hours, didn't see this as a problem. Now, how could it be that the first time a Venezuelan, according to what you say, planted a bomb that if it were put by that pump, it would have caused about 20 to 30 or 40,000 gallons of gasoline, diesel, and other liquids, flammable, to explode. And Irfan saw no need to go in front of the cameras. He would do sometimes if people say something like with Monroe Polari stand story. He went live. So Polari and Egbal could bring Irfan, who's president, or pay to be president, to sit before you all on Facebook and say we have a problem. The rioters here, we don't tolerate rioting, and they've attacked you in Portmore in Monroe. We're going to come there, and whatever he said. Okay, fine. Then when somebody else says something that they didn't like regarding another matter, Irfan goes in front of the camera and he begins to talk. But when a little 6-year-old Guyanese African girl and her family members, as we used to say, blown to smithereens, this girl, Irfan saw no reason to sit in from Saudi Arabia, wherever he was, to address the nation. Bharat saw no reason to do it. Clifton Hicken had to be compelled. So when a bomb is detonated in your city, and those who have just been elected saw no reason to raise an alarm and further to caution Guyanese to say, listen, the reality is upon us now. We're being attacked from within. Be alert, beware. It took the likes of Amanza Walton Nazir and me to sit and tell Guyanese people that you have to watch your back. Watch for one another. If you see something, say something. Don't take anything for granted. If somebody comes and puts a bag down beside you and walks away, pull them back and let them pick it up. And then the police say, oh, right, let's warn the people. It showed me, Dr. Hinds, that the PPP were way too calm and casual regarding this bombing.
Yes.
And that's what Ghana needs to pay attention to. There's no regime I know that'll be comfortable, calm, and casual if somebody blow up a gas station in the city. No one, none that I know of. Unless you know that that was the intention, and you know that it's going to trigger what happened next. You say the Mohammed's responsible for it. So you know right away that when they put a bomb in a gas station, you're going to say, it's Azir and his father. That doesn't sound as if it's a terrorist operation to me in the context of how terrorists function. It seems to be just another opportunity to say that those with whom you have an issue will pin something else on you. Unfortunately, it cost the life of a Guyanese girl. So that's not a big deal. Because after all, and I'll go with y'all, there's just a little black girl. And I'll tell you why. When the two little Indian boys during a Johnny Young situation, when it wasn't any African man, they found a 2-year-old photograph, a 2-year-old video photograph of 2 African men on a motorcycle, and said, the men were in jail, and they said they sprinkled the acid. And the boys just had little marks on their skin, dots of a corrosive substance, and they were entertained at State House, Dr. Hinds, along with the teacher. To this day, Arya Ali and Irfan have not, as far as I'm aware, said to the girl's family, come to State House. Let's talk and let me comfort you. Because she doesn't matter to them. It is not that important to them. And I understand, and I'll sit on this broadcast, that a racist has a basic problem. And that problem is that he or she cannot consistently demonstrate that they're not racist. That's the problem with racist people. They can't help it. At some point, it will slip.
It will slip. Pastor, you know, in the United States, in the United States of America, we all pay attention to what's happening in that country. If African people are caught with crack, they're sent to jail sometime for 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
If a white kid is caught with cocaine, they're sent to rehab.
Rehab.
Let me come now to Guyana, lest people think I'm picking in America. All of us know of this Jennifer Ali, who has said some of the worst racist things. But when the ERC came to pronounce on her, they tell her, go for counseling, go to rehab. And when it comes to Baby Skello, or any African, Baby Skello was sent to jail.
Jail.
To jail.
Remand.
To remand. And people are watching me, David Hinds, watching you, and tell us don't talk about victimhood. I mean, what more can be more graphic? What more can be more racist?
Yeah.
Which means that if to rehab means to rehabilitate. A bad Indian or a bad white person can be rehabilitated. They just make a little mistake.
Yeah.
But an African doing the same thing is a criminal and sent to jail. And you
without bail.
Without bail. And watch me in this country and tell me to stop talking about black victimhood. Apostle London, are you going to tell me to stop talking about black victimhood after what happened with Jennifer Ali? Tell me.
I'll tell you what the new mayor of New York said, Ramdani. He said, turn up the volume. 4 words. Don't stop, because the reality is that what we're seeing from the ERC and even in the judiciary at the hands of Irfan Ali is an intensification of creating victims in the African descendant community and telling them to shut up. And that's what master did. That's what the slave masters did. They need to understand, Guyanese, what is happening to you now. And if you're a fair-minded person of any ancestry, be it Indian, Chinese, Portuguese, whatever it is, you're going to understand what I'm saying to you. When somebody does you wrong and tell you to shut up, it's a dangerous thing. Because what they're now saying to you is that we have the right to do wrong to you, and you have no right to react to it. But you must thank us for doing wrong to you, and appear to be grateful that we haven't done worse. So the ERC responded to me and others to say, listen, Baby Skello didn't come to us when we invited him. So that is why he's being treated differently from Jennifer Ali. So I said to them, what nonsense are you telling me? Because the law of Guyana states that you have the constitutional power to request the Guyana Police Force Act. Don't play with me, Hack. I said, Sheikh Hack, stop the nonsense, because you know the law. The law is that the ERC can recommend that the Guyana Police Force act in a manner where it is beyond being refuted, irrefutable, that somebody is committing an act of racism and they're being antagonistic, terrible, just disgusting towards another ethnic group. Jennifer Ali has been the worst in a long time. I call her a downgrade of Ravi Dev. She's just a gutter-rat form of Ravi Dev. And this girl has gotten away with the ERC saying, don't be mad at us. She just came and we called for her, and so that's why she's been treated differently from Baby Skello. Nonsense. Because Baby Skello never spoke about an ethnic group. Let's not forget that. She talked about black people and black monkeys and the gods, she said.
Mm-hmm.
Further to that, Dr. Hinds, a man named Hussein shot and killed an African man in a phone store. After telling that policeman, you touch anything in here, you'll see what you get. That's called a threat.
Yes.
He didn't have a weapon in his hand. He told the man, if you touch something here, you'll see what happened to you. Next, the officer was pointing at him and they fussing. He swiped his hand in the man's to hit the officer's hand, though the man was off duty. So he was the aggressor. He first swiped his hand. And when the officer threw that heater gun at him, the man became unarmed. The officer, that is, the victim. Hussein walked across and picked up a gun. And the officer said, the victim said to him, so you're going to shoot me? That's a question asked. He had a chance to drop the weapon or consider a no. Instead, he cocked the weapon and shot and killed that man. And Guyanese, you know what? Hussein is out on bail. But Devin Sears, a former member of parliament, who was driving a minivan, and someone in his van said, listen, it was my marijuana, a plant. The court say you must remain on remand. Hussein, you must go home and relax with your family. Devin, you are worse than a man who pulled a gun and shot an off-duty police officer while the officer was unarmed. Further, I say to Guyanese people that 3 African descendants of distinct character, a chief magistrate, 2 justices, Irfan Ali under your watch, all 3 you're going for. What are the chances that 3 African women of societal repute are being treated in this manner in the judicial system? Dr. Hinds, I mean, you brighter than me, so maybe you could help me to understand which person with common sense would go on vacation in the person of Justice Janet Cummings. You go on vacation, proceed and leave, return from leave, and then just suddenly decide, you know what? I resign. That's it. I'm going to retirement. Come on. Who does that? And to know that Irfan Ali would allow Justice Cummings to leave without being duly appointed tells me everything I need to know about Irfan Ali. Everything I need to know about him. Everything
you know about them. Brother Dr. Eddie Glaude talked about the different value system, how much you value the life of one ethnic group and the value of the lives of another ethnic group. And we see that as the parlance we use as, apostle, we talk about ground dove and eagle.
Right.
Justice Cummings not ground dove, she eagle. And you treat her in that way. And what you go do with the ground dove? Exactly what you're doing. Because racism makes no distinction between the victims, whether they're elites or they're not elites. Colin Powell always would tell the story. The top soldier in America, he goes to meet a friend at Ronald Reagan Airport. And he's stopped by a little white security person. The people who stop you and search you. Mm-hmm. A little white girl. And he's a top soldier. She looked you up and down and said, you can't pass here. He's going to meet a friend in the VIP lodge. He said, I'm going to meet someone in the VIP lodge. She said, no, you can't pass here. And she refused to let the top soldier. He then said who he was. She said, you aren't moving.
Yeah.
You're not passing. She had to go and get a top superior person to come and pass the top soldier in America. Although he called his name, she obviously didn't know his name. He's your top soldier going and fight the wars for you, and you don't even know his name. And in any case, he get on fancy clothes that don't matter. You're passing. The different value system. We are seeing it in Guyana. We are seeing it in Guyana. My God, you shoot that man. A police. And I'm saying to these young black policemen and women, you all see? You all see? When you all go around shooting your little black brothers and sisters, You all see? That's the thanks. Somebody of another ethnic group is saying to you, thank you for shooting your own people for me. Boom, go and join them. Apostle, Guyana is our country.
Yes, it is.
It is part of our civilization because we cut the canals, we dig them, we fight the jungle, we fight the sea.
Yes.
We fight the ravages of the jungle and the sea. And the thanks we are getting from Guyana or the rest of Guyana, including some of our own, is that your life doesn't have the same value. We're going to help your family bury you, but you're done dead.
Correct.
You're done dead. You finish, but we're going to help your family bury you. And people may say, well, what does a 6-year-old girl being killed by the bomber? What does it have to do with race? Well, the people who are most likely to frequent a place like that, fast food and so on, is people of African descent. They can't go to Marriott.
Right.
They can't go to the top chicken places and the big places that the thing. They're more likely to go to a place like that little girl and her because that's what they could afford. So when you're going to bomb a place like that, they are the prime victims. And that is what race got to do with it. Because they cannot afford, the man didn't go and bomb Marriott or some one of them big place in Georgetown. He go and bomb a place where black people and poor people are likely to be. A lie? Apostle?
No, you're not. No, you have not. And the response tells it all. As I said, her family, up until a few days ago, they were not invited to the State House to interact with anyone. They weren't invited even to Mark Phillips, where he stays now at the Prime Minister's residence. They weren't invited even to Onish Waldron's. These people said to you essentially, listen, you're only qualified to be in our circle. Though history has been created for the wrong reason here. The unfortunate history applies to you. You're not qualified to be given that attention. And I think our relatives have complained about how they were treated even at the hospital. And that should be investigated. But I ask the question, as I normally would, what if it were Bharat Jagdeo's daughter, as he presented them to Modi? What if you roll up at the gas station, or the way the mommy, whoever it was, or the uncle, the France, and a bomb went off? Would you have been so casual, Bharat? I want you to answer those questions. What if it's one of your boys like Bobby Ramps, if you get I don't know if he has any child, but one of those, because many of them can't make anything but a mistake. So what if it's one of yours? Would you behave in that manner? No. Guyanese can answer. Even those who voted for the PP can answer and tell you that they'll behave quite differently. And so the disparity in reference to what you spoke, the value system, and what bothers me and plagues me is the value for humanity is absent. It is lacking unless you are a friend of theirs or unless you are of some economic benefit to these people. And the voices of reason and the voices of consciousness in this country must turn up the volume. Don't be quiet, Dr. Hinds. We can't afford your silence at this time.
Thank you very much, my brother. And we dedicate this show, of course, tonight to the young lady who I encountered this evening and was shocked to see me standing in front of a little stand selling plantain chip and so on. And she said, you look like you get all the mannerisms of Dr. Hinds. Not Dr. Hinds in front of any plantain chip stand. And it's so profound, that observation, because it shows what he was really reflecting is the class nature of the society.
Yeah,
We don't get
yeah.
to talk about class too often, you know.
No.
But it's the class nature of the society. And that young lady know how much they lie when they
Yeah.
say they just hang with the ordinary people. They're lying. But there's some of us who still hang with the masses. My brother, it's always a pleasure. I'm glad we've reconnected after a couple of months. And you know, I knew I had to call you this week. But then we ran into each other in the National Assembly, and here we are resuming our conversation. Your closing thoughts.
Dr. Hinds, it's a pleasure. And I must close by, first of all, saying not congratulations alone to everyone who happens to be, in this case, sitting in the 13th Parliament or being a member thereof. But I must say that I would request or require of you, all parliamentarians, to, as difficult as it may seem, at least attempt to be a bit more polished, reserved, and conscious of the responsibilities that lie on your shoulder. We cannot afford to play with the future of our nation, given our present reality. If there were to ever be a unified parliament, it should be this one, because the reality of Venezuela and the geopolitics that we face requires that we be united and be focused. To those in the opposition, I know that you're a member thereof, I see it as one opposition, because we must be together in standing firmly in dealing with the atrocity called the PPP. And yes, I've said it. The PPP at this time is an atrocity in our nation, because they continue to act in a manner that's reckless, dangerous, and just completely irresponsible. Finally, Dr. Hinds, I reiterate that I look forward to your voice being heard in a manner that many Guyanese of African descent and other ethnic groups will know for sure it's a voice that was needed in the House of Assembly. You represent a courage, a brand of courage, an ilk of confidence that we need, especially in our men in our society. And finally, when I sat behind you and I saw Ganesh rise with his phone to assist you in having lighting, for one, I realized that those who would have presented that document didn't see the need to have the font large enough
There
where
you
you could
go.
just stand and read, and it looks proper for camera. You see, it goes. I did a lot in reference to production. It looks better in terms of production when you don't have to be holding a paper to read it,
Yes.
because the font is big enough to just take a glance, and the spacing was one in reference to being two spaces. Those are basic things that when it comes to production and function at that level. But what I paid attention to, Dr. Hinds, is that Ganesh Mahipal, an Indian brother, stood with a light to help an African brother. And the
There you go.
morons on the other side could have said, well, wow, this is a story for a Guyanese to see. Where an Indian brother saw that an African brother would have needed some help, and he shone the light so the brother could read. Look at
Thank
the
you very much.
difference in reference to the story.
Yes. Yes. Thank
A
you very
sign of two major ethnic groups. One saying, if my brother needs help, I will rise with him. Not sit while he rises in difficulty. I will rise with my brother. And though my brother has the floor to speak, I give him light to do so.
There you go.
Quality matters.
Quality, quality, quality. Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And what a way to end. What a way to end. It's always good to have the voice and the voices that are needed in this country today. You know, I don't get to Georgetown too much now because of the traffic jam and all that story. But I went to Georgetown the other day, and African people mostly, of all ages, young people, stopping me to say, Dr. Hinds, at least we have one black man in the parliament to speak for us. These are African people. I'm sure some of them didn't vote for APNU. I am sure of that. But they say, at least we have one black man in there to speak for us. Society is complex. People, human beings, are complex by our very nature. And sometimes we hear a voice and we hear just one dimension of that voice. Those who are peddling the nonsense because some black people voted in larger numbers than normal for an Indian candidate. That is ethnic done, ethnicity done, race done. I am told that in 1957, when Sidney King ran against Balram Singh Rai in the East Coast constituency. Sidney King ran as an independent, and Balram Singh Rai ran as a PPP. The Burnhamite PPP did not field the candidate against Sidney King. The PPP did. And I understand in BV, where Balram Singh Rai was from, and they start to count the vote. And Sidney King was in front. And Balram Singh Rai come in and they say, Balram, race done by. Balram watch them. He said, race done, race never done. Race done, race never done. Let me repeat the story so you all gonna understand what I'm saying. Sidney King in front. Balram Singh Rai come in. They said, Balram, race done by. Sidney King there in front. He watched them. He said, race done, race never done. Sidney King went on to lose that election by, I think, 30-something or 40-something votes. Race never done. They want us to believe that race done. But Balram Singh Rai, no me say so. Say race never done. I'll see you all tomorrow night. Same time. Same channel. For another edition of Politics 101. Some of you are inquiring about the course. Please call the number on the screen. And I think we put out a flyer for the course Introduction to Pan-Africanism. The flyer there has the number to call. There's the number to call. Some of you have been asking me which number to call. The number there, if you can call that number, you can still enroll in our course Introduction to Pan-Africanism every Saturday for the next 7 weeks, every Saturday from 4 to 6. Please call that number there to enroll for our course Introduction to Pan-Africanism. See you all tomorrow.